Welcome. I'm Cindy Ward. I'm new to the league also, Marks, and new to Lexington. I've only been here for about a year, so we have something in common. Uh, we're honored tonight. I'll introduce Jennifer. Jennifer is our co-president, as well as Mary Hughes. Uh, Cindy Hine, I don't know how to say your last name. Is that correct?
Jaime. Jaime.
Heine, I'm not sure of your official status, Cindy.
Call me the gadabout.
She's a
She's a
workhorse.
jack of all trades for league.
She's a workhorse.
She was the one that welcomed me into the league. So, but we have as a guest speaker here, Pat, is it Mueller?
Morel.
Morel.
Mhm.
She's been a league member for years. And she also was an observer. She was also the past president of the Louisville League of Women Voters. And she's going to start us off with some information about Observer Corps.
Okay.
Thank you, Pat.
As I said, I started out as the school board observer, and I have been the school board observer here for many years. And when I was president, I tried to get our Observer Corps going. Did not have a whole lot of luck, but anyway, everyone is busy. To start a league branch, one of the first thing you do is there's a booklet called Know Your Government. And so you get that book and you go through and get to know your own local government. Well, so obviously the next step is an Observer Corps to stay up to date so that you always know your government. So that's the first thing. The first purpose is to continue the study of government. Another purpose, I don't know if it's written down anywhere, but one of the reasons is to let the elected officials know that someone's watching. They aren't, they're all by themselves, and that they need to practice transparency. Of course, one of the reasons we do it is not just to know about government, to learn about potential issues and background relevant to our league purposes and studies, whatever we're doing. It's a way to gather information for the education of citizens, for league programs, or like we have programs about housing and all the government connections there, and to determine if there are some studies that we should be doing. Another thing that we do when we observe is that we are gather information that we can use in our questions and format for our candidates forums. So when we sponsor these forums, we come knowing what duties those elected officials will have to carry out. It's also makes it easier to relate to the candidates too, if you know something about what they're doing. Another kind of sidebar is monitoring the news coverage. That is the article you read in the newspaper, is it the same meeting that you attended? Sometimes it's not always so much. First of all, observers have to be neutral, and they do not speak. Only the president ever speaks for the league, and would not do that spontaneously. The league president would make an appointment and get on the agenda. The other thing that we need to do is to establish some kind of process for bringing the information back to the league. Now, we have an education committee, so the school board observer brings the information back to the education committee. At one time, we had a local government committee, and that committee got us on some mailing lists, so that we get notices of the library board and the housing authority and so forth. Um, However, our observer at local government was appointed by the mayor to some board. I don't remember what it was, but then, so that identified her as a Democrat, as part of the Democratic Party. So that was not good. And she has not continued as our observer. Um, the, when you, the trying to start an observer corps, which, as I said, I have tried to do. First, of course, and I think Cindy's been working on this, is to identify the bodies that need to be observed and their meeting times. So, obviously you begin with elected groups and determine the scope of their authority. Going into it, you need to know just what the limits of their authority are. Also, to check out the boards that are appointed and by whom, and determine the scope of their authority. For example, the Housing Authority or the Board of Health. I think our Board of Health, is basically advisory. One of the notices that we used to get was for the library board, and I'm active in Friends of the Library. So I decided I'd start observing the library board, which was quite interesting. But what I learned is that they really don't have any authority. The mayor writes, it's the mayor's budget that determines what happens at the library. So it's okay to observe them, but they're appointed, they're not elected. So those are the kind of things you might find out that you want to observe. If you've got a health committee that's gung-ho, they may want to observe the health board just to know more about what's happening in the health department. But I think you need those two levels. And aside from that too, these other appointed boards, I think we should have more league members on all of them. And if they see you at their meetings and they know that you know what what's going on, maybe we could get some more league members on the board. But the other thing, of course, now is the technology that you don't have to go to the meetings to know. We've done the Metro Council some, I've been there to some, but going to the council meeting does not tell you what's going on, because their actions are, this committee presents ordinance number 67 and they vote on it. So if you have not been following the committee, you don't know what's going on. So, but with the internet, you can observe you can observe the city council meeting from home, or the school board meeting from home. You can observe the committees from home. You can check their minutes out from the internet. So, and of course, like for Metro Council, it's the committees where the real work is done. So if you can match up a person whose burning interest is housing and get them to connect and start observing, and after they've observed, then they can determine whether it's something they should be actually on-site present, well, not, after the COVID thing, or whether just reading the minutes is adequate. Although, there is a good point in having people know that the league is for us to be visible. In other words, that there is a virtue there. But I think the new technology and all the internet stuff has changed things. So we have to figure out how to best use all those tools. So that's what I have to say. I'll turn it back to Cindy.
Let me just add a quick note. The other thing that I appreciate about watching committee meetings is being able to hear what questions are being asked. Because once you get to know the members and where they're from, what district or whatever, you begin to know what kinds of things they're hearing from their constituents, or what kinds of things they're getting questions about, because they'll ask questions related to what they're hearing. The other thing that I like about actually being at meetings, and I spend a lot of time, Marks, at the state legislature. And if you're in a meeting and you hear somebody ask a question and you're right there, you can grab them after the meeting and say, tell me a little more, or did you know? Because you can get a little more information from them if you're right there in the meeting. But the questions are really important and a good source of information.
Thank you, Pat. You gave me so much more information to go on also. And Cindy, attending meetings, I think is what you said just right at the end, that you can go and ask somebody, what are you thinking about?
Yeah. I fight with the news reporters for not reporting how people voted in the state legislature, the city council. They don't have to tell everybody. They just have to tell who the no's were, you know, if whoever, whatever the minority is. Because as citizens, we need to know how these elected officials vote so that we'll know how we want to vote.
Exactly.
So that's an important part of what you do see and when you observe.
I think one of the things of choosing what you said, I didn't think about the idea of committees coming to someplace. So we really need to start following the committees to know what's going on in the main boards.
Mm-hmm.
And because going through the Lexington boards and meetings is just overwhelming. There is a calendar that's available, Marks, and I'll send you the link to see when boards are meeting, when committees are meeting. And also it's if you see something that you might be interested in, they many times or sometimes they do give an agenda. If they don't, I'll certainly I'm trying to put together some more information so that if you're thinking of a board, I'm more than happy to work with you to see just exactly how it'll work for you.
You can get on the mailing list and they will send you the meeting notices.
Oh, see?
Now, some of them anyway. I don't know if they all do, but some of them will.
Yes, that because I going through the internet, you can certainly find them, but there's a city council or a city agenda, a city calendar that tells you when and where. And the nice thing, I mean, right now, just getting started, it's nice to be able to observe the meeting because almost all of them, of course, are Zoom. A few are on television channels. But and then if you see something you might be interested, let me know and I'll have you introduce, or I'll call the board chairman and let them know that we're going to have somebody watching their meeting, and then I'll tell them who you are and that. Or if you just like to watch it for a time or two and see if it's something you really want to follow is fine too.
Pat, one of the things that I think the guidebook suggests is introductions as you start observing. Was that a practice that you did, and how did that work? I mean, to let them know you're coming.
Well, no. Well, yes. Sometimes we have done that, or in advance.
Yeah.
Or go at the prior to the meeting, go up and introduce yourself and say, I'm the observer from the League of Women Voters. Yes, that's a good point, and that should be done, I think.
And we also
and I thought,
have, I should have worn one, but we have little buttons that say League of Women Voters. And, even now when we're on Zoom, if you wear it, high enough on your shirt, people would be able to see it. You could also put, LWV at your name besides, on your Zoom presentation name. Which reminds me, I haven't changed mine. Mine just says League of Women Voters. I don't have a real name. But and then I also wanted to point out that I put in the chat, Cindy, for the I put our Observer Corps, the
Good.
League Observer Corps, and I had updated that website to have the clickable link for the form. But then also there's a button for that city calendar.
Oh, good.
You can find all of that information on this little link I put in the chat box.
Yes, we always wear our buttons. We always wear our league buttons.
I know that if you can't find the information that you're looking for, don't hesitate to email me and I'll do whatever I can to help you out. That's what I'm here for. That's how we're going to get this thing going, I think, if we're just ready to. Choosing a board, I know you said that you're interested in the elections and how the elections go. Is that correct, or?
Well, just that being an observer and knowing what's happening in each body gives
Right.
you the materials you need for your questions and your, for your forum. For your
Right,
candidate.
right, to get ready for it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the exciting things that I found is that as you're listening to things, if you hear something, Cindy was telling me, if you hear something that you think, I don't think we have a position and we should have something, we can study it and look at it and take a position. And I think that that's so important. And that's perhaps one of the exciting things that we can do as league members to widen our scope. So
And hopefully to be ahead of the game a little bit.
yes.
So that you can see what's coming so that you're prepared.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Happens.
And I do like the idea that it's important that they know that they're being watched. I like that when you said that, Pat. It's just, if they think they're doing everything behind closed doors, then that's where we can have trouble. So it's our obligation to take care of that.
And actually, that's not as negative as it sounds. I mean, the school
No.
board members all know me. They know that the league is committed to public schools, and so we've gotten acquainted. So so it's not a negative thing.
No.
And also, you appreciate how much work they do. When you see how many committees they go to, all the work they do, it makes you appreciate your elected officials.
That's true. That's true. Let's see. We know where the report form is. It's in the chat, so you can copy that link. Take a look at the city calendar. See, and there's also a list of boards that you can go over. And I can certainly send you some suggestions if you'd like me to. You've got my email, so contact me anytime. I don't really have a lot more. Do I have any questions, or am I getting off base, or?
I've got a quick question for Jen. Jen, I went to the form. I think I'm going to do this for, I watched the state government committee of the legislature in Frankfurt. And I tend to listen in to all their meetings during the session, but also the interim meetings. And Jen, I just went to look at that form and they want me to verify who I am in order to access the form. So it says complete the form, and then it says verify it's you, Lexington Observer Corps. And when I hit next, it wants a password, but it doesn't accept the password that's automatically in there.
So it's just trying to get you logged into your Google account.
So do I need to use my own Google account?
Yeah, that should be fine.
All right, let me see.
It's not like password protected or anything. I think it just wants, Google wants you to log in or whatever.
All right, let's see. Okay. All right, and then there's a series of questions. Yeah, okay, let me in.
And
They
then
give
you
a-
can also access it through Outreach Circle. I don't know if anybody was
Don't-
taking
don't
bets on
confuse
how
me.
long, how long it
Don't
would take me to
confuse
mention
me.
Outreach Circle.
Yeah.
Do you have any current local studies that you're doing right now?
No,
So that wouldn't be an issue then.
no. We don't. When I'm thinking it'd be fun if, you know, we got some issues generated through this
Mhm.
effort. We might end up
Yes.
doing a study.
Yes, yes. I've just gotten so much information from you, Pat. I'm almost overwhelmed. And I thank you very, very much
Well,
for
I can-
joining us for this.
I'll email you my paper that I just did.
Oh, wonderful,
Okay.
wonderful. Where you mentioned, where can we get the Observing Your Government form? I know that it's online. Is that available?
I don't know.
Let me look on the
I
lead
I had a
management
book called Observer Corps. from
Yeah.
National, but that's,
Because I know that there was and I think it was through the league. It's probably on the league's
Yeah, I
webpage.
think it's in the book, and I think I sent you a link to that. book.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and I think that I'll try to send some links out to people because that was an excellent guidepost for me.
Right, right.
So,
see if you could figure out some kind of hook to get people to just pick a committee, an urban county committee, and watch it on internet, you know,
yep.
and read and see if just to see if there's any of those that intrigues them, you know, which
Right.
I mean, I know, you know, because they all have different interests, and so that, in other words, that they could hook in and do some observing without making a big commitment.
True, true. I may
Right.
make a suggestion like that to the names I have.
Yeah.
And try it to see if, because they did express an interest, so hopefully and I'll send them a list of ideas of different because I made up a list of ideas for
You've got some,
possible boards.
yeah,
to
you've
run.
got some good suggestions, I think, in here. Let's see.
I just put a link in the chat box for the Observing Your Government in Action from the national website. And I'll post it also on our local website as well.
Okay.
Oh, good.
And then I noticed you've got the downloadable, printable version of that report form too, Jen.
Yeah.
And I think when I first looked at that, I didn't like it necessarily. It seemed like there were some things that weren't terribly relevant. But, and so my thought is, Cindy and I have talked about it, is we'll start with this and then modify it as we go and as we figure out what's important.
Yeah, I think that there were things that I agree.
Yeah, did they
Obviously.
start on time? I don't, you know, did they start 2 minutes late? I don't care about that. What did they talk about? Who was there?
Yes.
Pat,
Yes.
do you have a form that you used?
No.
Okay, you just reported what you heard.
Right.
Okay,
When it was, you know, when it was appropriate.
right,
I didn't
right,
do it all the time.
exactly, exactly. Marks, is there a particular committee you think you might be interested in, or would you enjoy just picking a committee and starting to watch to see if you'd like it?
Okay, now I'll try to get it what you're saying, and yes, I think I need to know what is the law, how works the. I'm trying to understand how is the work for the observer to say something. Yeah.
I
Sorry.
think basically
Uh-huh.
if we look at some of the government committees and that and we can perhaps decide what you might be interested in, what kind of meeting you'd be interested in. If you're interested in the healthcare of people, or if you're in housing, or, and then we can perhaps find a committee that you would be interested in listening to. And then you would just report back to us some of the important things, basically.
Yes, yeah, women, EB grants, yeah, that's the things that I work because I'm a big one, yeah, I be one, and yeah, it can be interesting how what is the new, what is speaking now, the politics and what's happened, because
Yes.
when we are immigrants, we try to understand this new world for us, and I'm excited to understand and to say for my community what's happened.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I can translate in Spanish. I think that is the first thing that I can do, but I need to understand where I am, and
I think that you could teach us a lot about or at least me, a lot about our immigration into the United States. I'm afraid I'm not.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
So, but perhaps if I'll get together some suggestions,
Okay.
and I'll email them
Yes,
to you and see if it sounds good to you.
yes, I would like that. Yeah, that suggesting me what can be, where can I be useful?
Yes,
What can I
useful.
be useful with my little things that I know?
Yes.
How can I help? Yeah, I want to be volunteer, and yes.
That's outstanding. That
Yeah,
really is outstanding.
okay, yes,
Thank you,
you.
Marks. It is
Yeah.
Marks.
Yeah, but I don't use the name. I don't like it so much.
What
Everybody
name do
called
you
me
use?
Mar. Yeah, it's so man.
Mar?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's I'm a
Mar?
woman. Mar, yeah. Everybody told me Mar, M-A-R, like the sea. That means the sea.
Okay.
All right.
So, yeah.
So I'll put together some ideas for you and email you.
I appreciate so much.
So we'll see if we can find something that fits you to like a glove.
Yes, I appreciate
And
that.
Cindy,
Thank
I
you.
think I'll go ahead and sign up to watch State Government Committee of the legislature.
Oh, thank you.
And just
Oh, yeah,
use
yeah.
that form, even though it's not local, I'll use that form and then begin to get a sense of, I know a bunch of what they're doing, but to share it might be interesting.
Yes.
One of the
yes.
things that we know that somebody is interested in because they proposed a bill is on ranked choice voting. And I would love to see the state league do a study on ranked choice voting.
I don't know what ranked choice voting is.
Well,
I mean,
very few people do, but it's starting to get popular across the country, where instead of maybe you've got 4 people in a primary for the city council, and instead of taking the top 2 and running them off in the general election, people choose their first, second, and third choices. And then the ones with the most votes eventually would, whether it's the first or the second choice, it's complicated. I mean, that's why we need to study it, because
yeah.
I could explain it better if I understood it better. But
Yeah.
it's a way to save money, but also to be sure that at least half of the people, 50% of the people, have chosen that person, whether it's maybe not their first choice, but maybe their second choice.
Okay.
It's a really interesting concept. So, when you listen in on meetings and you begin to hear different things you don't know about, it's a way to say, oh, hey, let's learn more about that.
Would that be close to the was it, I can't remember which Georgia senator race it was, that they had to be, there was a first, second, and third.
I don't know. I don't know if they did that or not.
They had to have the runoff because none of them got the majority, I think.
Got the majority, that's right. And if you had ranked choice, then the people with the highest votes would end up you get the second choices of people who had voted for others for their first choice to see who, somebody might have that person be a second choice. And if a whole bunch of people plus the originals thought that was a good choice, then they could win.
So actually how it works is that the person that's running that gets the least amount of votes, they look at the people that voted for that like fourth place person, and then they go to the second choice of those people. And then they divvy up those votes, and they keep doing that with the person that's last in line until the person who's in the front gets more than 50% of the vote.
One of our libertarian candidate friends, who, he runs a lot, hasn't won, but he's quite interested in the ranked choice voting.
Yeah, and it was actually proposed in a bill this year. It's not going anywhere, but obviously somebody in the legislature is interested in that. So
Interesting.
And we don't have a position on it. So that would be an interesting way to get a position on whether we think that's a good thing for Kentucky or not.
It'd be interesting to do a study on that. Yes.
Yeah, it would be.
Maybe they heard Josh Douglas speaking of it.
Right. That's right. Josh is a fan of that.
Well, I think we've covered everything I had intended to cover. I hope we got some headway here, and we got one person watching the state government, and Marks will pick something. So we're on our way, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
Letting us know about it was just wonderful. And thank everybody for
Wonderful
coming.
that you
All
have
of you for
agreed to
helping me
do
out
this.
on my first foray into a meeting.
That's
So
great.
Thanks.
So
Good.
Mara, I just want to tell you about one other thing.
Yeah.
So this is we have an app that's like an easy way to kind of keep up with what the league is doing. And
Okay.
it's called Outreach Circle. So if you have a smartphone,
Yes.
download the app Outreach Circle, and when you download it, it'll kind of ask you to make an account. And I would just use, if you have like a Facebook account, I would use the same email that you use for that.
Okay.
And then you'll search for, you'll use this little code. It's like a shortcut.
It's a code.
WA277. And that will bring you to our Lexington Outreach Circle. And we post stuff on there, like different like meetings that we're having and forums. Like we have one coming up on women's history, talking about Kentucky suffragists who fought for the right to vote here in Kentucky. So we post all that kind of stuff there. It's like an easy way to find information. I just have the app right on my phone, and so I can just
Okay. I do that. I will do that.
and then it's all kind of like right there. So
Oh, wow, super.
it makes it like really easy. So anyway, that's it. And eventually, we also put the Observer Corps report there. So that's an easy way to get to it. And then you just click on it. So that way you don't have to worry about, like, if you're at a meeting, you'd have your phone with you. You wouldn't necessarily have to like bring a computer. Like you can just fill out the form on your phone while you're there at the meeting.
Okay,
of course,
super. Thank you.
we're probably not going to meetings right now, but anyway, we're building for the future. So
then I did want to know, how do they submit when they finish filling out the form? Is there just a submit button at the bottom, or?
yeah, there's a little, well, it's disappearing, but there's a little button at the bottom. It says submit.
Okay.
You can even take a picture of the agenda. So if you, and it'll kind of depend, like if you were there in person, you might have a paper agenda and you could take a photo of it, and there's a space here where you can upload a file for that. Or if they emailed you the agenda, you could also upload that file that they sent you. So then that way, you know, we would have that information, like the types of things that they're talking about at the meeting and that kind of thing. So, so yeah, I think this is a really easy way to do that.
And then I'll gather the information, and what I think that I'll turn it over to the board when we have information that I think that they need to know. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate all of you coming and helping me out, and for our guests. So
Thank you,
Marks, I
Cindy.
will get
Thank
you,
you.
Mar, I will get you the information, I
Oh,
promise.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
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 Pat, good to see you.
Good, nice
Nice to
meeting
see
you,
you.
Pat.
Good luck.